Hi, folks. We're here in Talkeetna. It's Friday, September 22nd, last day of summer. And I just did a video showing this little consist here, the rail vac side dump here in Talkeetna. But this video is going to focus on this caboose. This is Caboose 1069. 1069 was built by the Pacific Car and Foundry in Renton, Washington, in March of 1948 and was put in service on the Alaska Railroad in April of 1949. What's interesting about 1069 is when it was built, it originally had wayside doors. It had a pair of doors, one on each side of the car. I think it was on the A end of the car. I'm sorry, I can't recall that off the top of my head. But this had a pair of wayside doors, much like baggage car doors, just a little bit smaller. And it was the only caboose to have sliding doors on the Alaska Railroad of that period. This is the oldest built caboose, and I'm going to say oldest built. I'm going to explain that there is one caboose on the railroad that is technically older. That is the 1043. But the 1043 was originally a troop kitchen car built by Pullman Standard in 1943, right? And the railroad took a pair of those troop kitchen cars that were in MOW service, and they turned them into snowfleet cabooses. They were a little bit narrower than standard rail cars, especially cabooses, and they would be put behind the locomotives pushing the rotaries. So you could say that 1043 is technically older, but it was not originally a caboose. So 1069 would be the oldest built caboose on the Alaska Railroad. Now, the other thing that's really cool about this car is it would have seen service all over the Alaska Railroad and the branch lines it had at the time. At the time, you would have had the Sutton subdivision, which was the Sutton branch from Matanuska Junction through Palmer that ran alongside the Matanuska River through Moose Creek and up to Jonesville and Escamines through Sutton, right? So those of you that are familiar with the valley and maybe you live in Sutton, this caboose would have actually rolled right by the Alpine Inn. So I got a couple of cool stories that involve cabooses that I will talk about. There's one gal that I talked to some years back, and I don't remember her name. She was an older lady, and she had lived in Sutton many, many years ago. She was really young and remembers when the railroad ran by the town, ran through the town. And the mail for Sutton was brought up on the train. And as the train rolled by, there was a door that was opened up, and the conductor or somebody would throw the mail out of the caboose. And she didn't know anything other than it was a caboose at the end of the train. But what she was describing was the 1069. Some of the legends about the 1069 on the doors, why it has the doors, it was used all over on freight trains and all that. And I believe it was also used in maintenance away service where it would drop off small splice section houses or other stops along the way. But it was pretty cool listening to that story and knowing what she was describing, knowing the actual car that she was describing. And if not sure if you can see right under the A and S. Oh, there's a train coming. Awesome. Right below the A and S, there is a couple of brackets. They look like they are polling hooks. And way back then, that was a practice where they would use poles to move cars on adjacent tracks that were close. Then you have to do switching moves, and it's a band practice. But look up polling. Now here's another story. While we're waiting for this train, most of you might remember the story. Oh, hold on. We're actually going to go over here. Wow, how neat is this, folks? Oh, wow. It's the Hoodoo Choo Choo going to Fairbanks. It's a deadhead. Well, that's super cool. I've never seen the Hoodoo Choo Choo making his deadhead move. Super cool. Super cool. So back to the caboose here at the 1069. Some of you may have heard of Harry Ross, conductor Harry Ross. He was a conductor that went 51 years on the Alaska Railroad. Real famous conductor, real nice guy. So he started work on the Alaska Railroad in 1968. He did a couple of summer seasons before he was able to go year round. And some of his first trains was on the the Jonesville coal trains. Now, as a new brakeman and you're riding in a caboose, um, sometimes you were doing all kinds of work for the conductor. You're learning the trade, and sometimes you have to earn your stripes. Now, the grade, the Jonesville Hill, the grade coming up from Jonesville Cafe and Alpine Inn right there in Palm Sutton. It's a real steep grade that goes up, and sometimes the coal trains, when they were coming down the hill, they could have a runaway, and they wouldn't be able to gain control of the train until they got out by Eska Creek. So you would be riding violently back and forth on this caboose, right? Because you're on the back end. Well, they would in some cases they knew what to do. They knew how to control the train. I mean, they're engineers and they're conductors, and they would get to a point where they would let the train go to cool the brakes, and then they still had control of it, but they got it going pretty good clip going down the hill, right? Now, Harry said that on his first run as a brakeman on that particular train, his conductor said, as we go down the hill and we let the train go, as we pass by the Alpine Inn, you're going to reach out on those grab irons and you're going to grab a beer from the barkeep. And if you spill the beer, then you're a shit brakeman. But if you can grab it, not only do you get to drink it, but you're going to be all right. And sure enough, they let the train go, and he said they weren't kidding about the rocking and the rolling. And he reached right out, and sure enough, they had called down to the bar and said they had a greenhorn, and they had a beer waiting for them. Barkeep standing out there with the board or the drink carrier deal that they have, and had his hand out there, and sure enough, as Harry went by, he grabbed that beer and drank it. And apparently that impressed the old head conductor on that run, because he made him do it the next day a second time. So that's just another cool little story that involves this caboose and cabooses in general. I'm not saying Harry's story was on this particular one, but it would have been on one like this. So folks, just soak it up, because one of these days there won't be any cabooses anywhere on any railroads. And hopefully this will have many more years of service on the Alaska Railroad, and it is preserved when her time finally comes and she no longer roams the rails of the Alaska Railroad. Thanks for watching, folks. Hope you have a great day. Get out there, enjoy the last day of summer. Go do something cool. And let me know what you think of the video. Give me a like. Subscribe if you're a new viewer. Appreciate it. And we'll talk soon. Take care.